Hey guys, Griever here, bringing you guys a 7 Deadly Sins discussion video today. And the reason for this video is because a number of reasons, but mostly because we are on break this week. And I really wanted to give you guys some more Sins content. We are nearing the end of the manga series, and that doesn't mean that I don't want to continue to do 7 Deadly Sins content on my channel as much as I can. So there's plenty of stuff to do. Theories, character discussions, and of course, Wrath of God Season 3 of Nanatsu no Taizai is coming out, and I will be doing episode reviews of that. But before we even do any of that, let's just get it out of the way and say spoiler warning ahead if you aren't caught up with the manga series. That being said, as the title of the video can no doubt tell you, we are going to be talking about the Demon King, and more specifically, is he truly dead? The short answer, yes. Yes, he is. But before I discuss about why I believe that, I just want to give you guys a quick rundown of the theories that I have heard from different members of the Boar's Hat podcast. Once again, go check that out. Link in the description down below. And also on the forums and in the comment sections and just everywhere. There seems to be a lot of controversy surrounding this topic. It goes anywhere from the Demon King is back in purgatory in his old body, all beaten up. He's trapped inside as Meliodas took over a dominant personality, sort of a hollow Ichigo, Inuyasha demon form sort of idea. And right now he's just kind of in the depths. He's at the background, sort of like Dreyfus was when it was fraudulent, except in reverse, something like that. Some people believe that he has omnipresence or omnipresence, however you pronounce that. Whereas in he never truly left. The Demon King that Meliodas fought in his mental world, his spirit form, his soul form, whatever you want to call it, was simply a projection, and the Demon King in purgatory never left his body. He simply gave another vessel his will and his omnipresence. You just have to look it up. It's one of those Schrodinger's cats and all-seeing God sort of things that happen. That being said, see, there are so many theories about this, and some people even say that when Meliodas used Trillion Dark to banish him and he took control back of his own body and he reverted back to his childlike form, this is just an indication that he was sealed or sent back to his purgatory body, that purgatory body was empty, but now he's back in it and he's not been killed or defeated. So all these theories have been coming up, and a lot of people believe them for different reasons. There's evidence for some and a lack of evidence for others. But we're just going to go through a couple of the problems that I have with each one from narrative perspective, evidence-wise, and a few things before we get into why I believe the Demon King is 100%, no doubt, dead. Now, I could be proven wrong here in the next few chapters. That's always a possibility, but that's why I'm getting the video out now, because as far as it stands here at the end of Epilogue 1 chapter, I firmly believe the Demon King has been completely destroyed. He's not in any realm, he's nowhere to be found, and the last parts of him are living on within his two sons. That's it. But before we do that, let's get into some of the theories I just talked about. Number one was the hollow Ichigo, the demon form Inuyasha. There's a number of characters that do this. That thing, the only problem I have with that's a possibility I brought up in some of my reviews since chapter around 300, 301. I've been bringing up that as a possibility. Not one that I put a lot of stock in, but it's something that is a possible. The problem with it is that narratively it would do nothing. And even if it is the case, we won't know until we get a sequel series, if we even get one at all. Because there would be no point in showcasing that. We have defeated the main villain, and he was not redeemable. There's no sense in showing unless you're going to start a new arc or a new sequel series. There would be no point in showing that the Demon King is locked in a mental cage inside of Meliodas, and Meliodas just currently has dominant control. Like at the end of 299 and beginning of chapter 300, Meliodas and the Demon King, both presences, both mental states, personalities and all, spirit and soul, were in the same body. It's just that outwardly, currently, the Demon King got there first, and he had dominant control of the body. Once Meliodas defeated him, Meliodas took over form. As I said, that is a possibility, but it would do nothing narratively for the story, especially if this is the true ending. All that would do is open up a huge cliffhanger that wouldn't add to the story or add to the ending. It would just leave you wanting more and a bunch of questions at the end. And in all honesty, what does that do for the story? And what does it mean in general? So for that reason alone, I just don't find it holds enough merit. As I said, it's a total possibility. There's not really a whole lot of evidence to deny this could happen, but the fact of the matter is it does nothing narratively for the story. It doesn't really add to it. It only takes away from it and just leaves us with 50 more questions rather than answer any of them. So with that being said, so that theory I'm just kind of like pushing to the side. The next one is the whole omnipresence, which once again, I don't really know how that's pronounced. I'm going to go off omnipresence. Either way, that's the ability where people believe that the Demon King was still in purgatory and still had all his facilities and still had his power, his soul, everything, and was able to link or watch or whatever what was going on outside of purgatory. I have zero evidence for this. I truly do. And a lot of people's evidence is something similar to the fact that Meliodas and the Demon King fought in the mental world inside of Meliodas' mind, and also he fought in his physical form, in his Demon King Meliodas form, against Bon and the other sins, though to be fair, the sins didn't do very much in that bout. That being said, that evidence to me is very weak at best, because the entire reason that I was able to accept, and we're not going to talk about power scaling and its issues since chapter 300 here, but suffice it to say that the reason I was able to accept that Bon was actually able to do anything to the Demon King, considering the last time we saw him fighting alongside of Wild and Meliodas, he could not do anything with his immortal powered up body, and the moment he leaves, he's able to go toe-to-toe with the new, younger, powerful body, words of the Demon King, not mine, and somehow able to do this is because his focus was split. It's something similar to how, have you ever been distracted or made a mistake because you were thinking about something else while you were doing a separate activity? I know that I've done it. I've been wiring something up and I wired it up backwards and it didn't work or something like that because I was thinking about something else, something, important that had happened yesterday or that week or something upcoming, something that I was worried about, stressed. That has happened, and your mind is totally... Have you ever sat down and had a conversation with somebody, and you'd be fiddling with something or trying to do an activity, meanwhile, your mind is not in it. Your focus is elsewhere, and you're thinking about something. You're reminiscing, your memory, something, right? That's what I took away from this, is that when the Demon King, when Meliodas took in the 10 Commandments, and we found out that it was a big lie, that Meliodas would not control his body, but all the 10 Commandments did, from what I can understand, is they created a gateway or a link, a new way, a vessel for the Demon King, regardless that he was in purgatory or not. He was able to go from purgatory and transfer his spirit and his soul and whatever through this link of his original power, strong enough to even break the gates of purgatory, if you want to look at it that way, and able to possess the new vessel. That's the power of the 10 Commandments, all being formed into one body. It becomes a new vessel that can go between the realms sort of idea, right? That's the way I took it anyways, because that's the evidence that has been plainly shown. And during all this, of course, Meliodas shows up and they're having their mental battle sort of idea. So all that proved to me was that he doesn't have omnipresence. All that it did was that his focus was split. He has a mental battle. He's got an intruder in his mental world. Similar, a perfect example of this is when Ichigo was learning from the Vizards in Bleach. His physical body was hollowifying, and he was attacking and battling and had a hollow personality on the outside. Inside, mentally, and in his spirit form, his soul form, he was battling it out with his hollow Ichigo form for dominance over the power of the hollow. It's the exact same situation. The physical body and the mental world. Two totally different things going on, but it doesn't mean that there's all of a sudden two Ichigos existing in that. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that there's all of a sudden that Ichigo becomes omnipresent as a result. So the evidence, the only evidence I could find for this theory that he had omnipresence, other than the fact that he's been stated to be similar to a god and things like that, and we can assume from that that he has some form of omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, all that stuff. Other than that reasoning, the only other reasoning I saw was because he was both battling Meliodas and Bond at the same time, different conversations, all that stuff. But as I just proved with the Bleach reference, is that this has happened across many media. It happens in the real world, as I said before, with my distraction. When I was wiring something, I was thinking about something else. The focus is split, but it doesn't mean you all of a sudden are in two places at once. It's just that you're have a mental capacity and a physical capacity to do things. The brain works in fun ways, right? So for that reason, and for those couple of reasons there, I don't believe in the omnipresence theories. It could be proven wrong, but I don't know why it would be proven at this point. And even if we do get a shot of the Demon King back in purgatory in his old body with his arm cut off and all that stuff and trapped there forevermore, reminiscing about the fact that he lost to his son and all that stuff, and maybe he should turn over a new leaf. I doubt we're going to get that. But if we do get that, all that proves is the next theory on the chopping block, which is that he got banished, not destroyed. This comes in the form of the fact that when Meliodas used Trillion Dark, he didn't destroy or kill the Demon King's soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it. All he did was basically send it back through that gateway or link from the vessel of the Ten Commandment body that Meliodas had created and sent it back to purgatory pretty much. Banished him from this body, banished him from this mind, and sent him back to his original body. That is a possibility, and I'm not 100% against it, but once again, I still believe the Demon King is completely destroyed, and we'll get into that in the very last theory here. But suffice it to say, is my problem against this theory is, once again, this would, even if we see the Demon King in the next couple of chapters back in that body, this would prove that theory more so than the omnipresence theory. And so even if people want to say that he still had omnipresence, I'd still go with the whole he was just basically banished back through that link or that line, that whatever, that linked all the presences, all the vessels and bodies together, and he was just sent back through that same way, and then the door was kind of shut behind him, if you want to look at it that way. My issue with that comes up in my evidence for the final theory, which is the one that I believe, is that when the Demon King went into the body, when he took over the body of Demon King Meliodas in the physical realm, basically the big form in purgatory, the one that Wild and Bond and Meliodas fought for 6,000 bouts or whatever it was, 6,000 fights, dropped basically to the floor. It's a rotting away corpse. He doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't want it anymore. The whole point of this was to get a new, younger, more powerful body. That was the whole purpose. And I guess as a side benefit, to escape purgatory by the sounds of it, though not clearly stated, it was stated that he wanted the new, more powerful body, the younger body. Now, we're not going to bring up the fact that this all could have been solved when Zeldris was willing and you had all the Ten Commandments together at the beginning, but we won't go down that route right now. We will just talk about this particular instance. He states that this is what he wants. So in my theory is that once that link was created and a new vessel was formed in the physical realm, the Demon King's soul or spirit left the body, which no matter how powerful he is, he still only has one soul, one spirit form. And this form left that old, decrepit, badass looking body in purgatory, left it, and it basically dropped to the ground. Whether it eroded away or not at this point is left up for debate. I mean, you could argue that without the Demon King's presence inside it, the body just rotted away by the power of purgatory's winds and flames and all that stuff. Or you could argue that it's just an empty husk lying there that is still too strong and powerful, though empty, for even purgatory to destroy. Either way, it's empty. It's an empty husk of a body. And he entered the body of Demon King Meliodas. Now, the reason we see a double battle, a mental battle with Meliodas and a physical battle with Bond is, well, I mean, it wasn't really the greatest writing, to be fair, but also it was the fact that Meliodas, remember, left at the same time. He left purgatory through the gate. And as we saw, Bond automatically returned to his body. This is still Meliodas' body. The Demon King got there first and took over the dominance of the Demon King Meliodas' body. But Meliodas escaped purgatory, so he also returned to his body. But like a split personality or a double soul thing, which I know has been done in other media and anime before, two souls generally can't exist in the same vessel. It doesn't work that way. And so they started to fight for dominance on the mental playing field. But this battle took place inside the mind, the spirit form of the physical body. It wasn't somewhere else. It wasn't back in purgatory. It was none of that. I just want to clear that up because some people are saying that he went back to purgatory, that he fought in purgatory and then came back. That's not what happened. What happened is that basically two souls entered the same vessel and fought for dominance. And that's why Bond was able to get the upper hand, because his focus was split. He wasn't able to completely, he had to focus on fighting Meliodas and Bond at the same time, and that kind of stuff. And we also saw that Gowther entered, which we've seen evidence of what Gowther does, is enter the mind and the soul world of people. He did this with Dreyfus. He did this with Mail. He does this stuff. He never has entered purgatory. He never enters some random fifth realm that's not the goddess realm, the demon realm, purgatory, necropolis, physical realm. No. He doesn't enter a sixth realm or a seventh realm or whatever you want to call it. He enters the mind. So all he did was harness and enter the mind of that physical body, which had the two halves fighting. Now, when Meliodas used Trillion Dark and destroyed that soul, destroyed that spirit, and retook his body, he eradicated what was left of the Demon King. The Demon King's body is irrelevant at this point because it's just an empty husk lying away. He took a new vessel. They didn't destroy that vessel. He destroyed the soul inside of it. And then that soul of Meliodas retook the vessel that the Demon King had housed and used. And that's basically what my theory is that he got destroyed. He destroyed him at a spirit level and then retook his body back. That's basically the end of it. The Demon King is 100% destroyed. Now, the evidence for this is simply, as I've already stated, but the last few chapters do give us indications and synonyms for him being destroyed and not pushed back to his old body in purgatory, and that he's not sealed, and all the other theories that I brought up. I brought up the fact that he could have been pushed back into his old body, but we have no lines of dialogue that indicate that. There's not a line from Merlin or from Rudessio or someone saying, or even Meliodas saying, well, I managed to push him back. He should, he'll wallow away in purgatory for another 1,000,000 years or something. Nobody says anything along those lines. So I fail to see why they wouldn't know this. Or Meliodas wouldn't know that he didn't actually destroy his father, and he would bring this up, because he does not. And then the also fact is that they don't mention sealed or anything. So there goes kind of the hollow Ichigo idea that he sealed and took just dominance over his body, but there's still a second soul inside of this vessel that is the body of Meliodas. So at the end of the day, and once again, they would have brought up something like the omnipresence or something. Merlin or Meliodas, somebody should have brought it up. But instead, what we do get, and here's where my evidence comes into play, is we get Rudessio and Elizabeth and Merlin. We get the chapter 305, I believe. It might have been 304, but 305. Whichever chapter is titled, The Demon King's Death Throes. A death throw is something that basically it's the cackling, it's the curdling, it's the what the Grudge does, which I'm not going to put an image of the Grudge here because that shit terrifies me. Basically, it's the dying wailing of someone. Someone's dying, someone's death. So it's the last sounds they make. And though I find it very ridiculous that Merlin knows what that sounds like or what that is and can recognize it, nonetheless, the title of the chapter and Merlin both have stated that it's a death throw. It's not a sealing throw. It's not a banishing throw. It's not a exiting the physical world or just exiting the body of Meliodas' body throw. It's a death throw. The Demon King is dying. That's what I took away from it. It's stated by the chapter and Merlin. Then after this, we get Rudessio, who is also seems to be reincarnating or fading away or what have you, and states the Demon King has been vanquished. The threat has been eliminated. The Demon King is done for. We get multiple synonyms for death, for defeated, for dying. We don't get synonyms for sealing or banished or pushed back or any of those type of things. We're getting synonyms for dead, defeated, gone forever. That is the synonyms we are getting throughout these chapters. Plus, if you also read into my theory about the reason that Meliodas has to leave, is because that the Demon King and Supreme Deity act as linchpins, similar to a Pirates of the Caribbean, The Flying Dutchman, if you guys have seen those movies. So spoilers for that in case you haven't. The Flying Dutchman must always have a captain. It does not matter that Davy Jones is killed. Whoever stabs the heart, whoever kills the heart of the last captain has to take its place. The Flying Dutchman must have a captain. It's kind of an unwritten rule. It's just a spoken rule of the world. It's the way the world is held together. It's similar to the Soul King in Bleach. He's a linchpin, and that if you eradicated him, all the barriers between the real world and Waco Mundo and Soul Society and all these things and all the other realms would collapse, and all this stuff, which what Yuha tried to do in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And it's what Kisuke Urahara states to Aizen. The Soul King is a linchpin. Without that linchpin, the world simply crumbles away. It doesn't work that way. So I believe that the Supreme Deity and Demon King thrones must be filled. Sort of a yin-yang complex sort of idea is that there always must be someone must sit in the throne to keep the balance of the world in check. It's a necessity of all the planes of existence, of all the world. Now, that's going into theory territory, so if you don't want to use that as evidence until we find out exactly why Meliodas has to leave, if we ever do get that answer, I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why he won't, and we don't actually have the ending of the series yet, so we don't know if he will at the end of the day. Probably not. They'll probably give Elizabeth and Meliodas a happy ending. But even if you don't want to take that last point, still, the evidence kind of speaks for itself. We have a chapter titled Death of the Demon King, pretty much. We have Merlin stating what is happening to him when he is defeated. And we have words like threat eliminated, defeated, and vanquished. That's what we have. We do not have sealed and banished and pushed back. So for all these reasons, I believe once again that there is a husk of a body lying in purgatory that is void of any presence or spirit or soul any longer. The Demon King has been completely destroyed by Trillian Dark, and Meliodas took over the last housing of the rest of his power, being the Ten Commandments. That's all that happened. That's it. That's the end of it. Now, once again, you guys can tell me what you guys think. Am I totally full of shit, or am I on to something here? Let me know down in the comment section down below what you guys personally think of this theory. Or do you agree with one of the other theories? And did I miss on some evidence that has been proven in different panels, maybe way back when? I'm just sort of focusing here on the last 20 or so chapters of information, while there might be some line back in chapter 112 or something that tells us the entire story. But nonetheless, I just wanted to get you guys a quick theory video, a discussion video out here. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, it's always really appreciated. And once again, tell me if none of these theories match up with what you think. Let me know that too down in the comment section down below. I really want to hear from you guys. As always, this has been Griever with a 7 Deadly Sins discussion video on Is the Demon King Dead? The answer is yes. Alright guys, we're signing off now. We'll see you next time.